coming to me. I only trust the Father, not the enemy. The Father word, he came and cleansed the enemy. I only want the Spirit, so I'm kidding me. The Father gave me righteous things that I desire. I wanna see the kingdom, not the lake of fire. I don't want no drugs, scriptures got me higher. If we come in up here, how we gon' be the highest? Desires pure. You made my 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 desires pure. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires pure. See all that weight that was on our shoulders. You made my desires pure. With the things of this world. You made my desires pure. I wanna say thank you, Father. You made my desires pure. Getting that weight off our shoulders. Hallelujah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook Live, good morning. Breaking Strongholds Ministries. YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. Good morning. Happy Shabbat. Happy Sabbath day. This is the day that the Most High have made, so let us be glad and rejoice in it. I hope your week has been good. I hope that you have been blessed over and abundantly with love, protection, and guidance. I hope the Most High has given you everything that your heart desires. I hope that you have gotten everything that you have wanted, especially wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the Messiah and His purpose for your needs. I just ask that you just continue to pray for everything and pray for what's going on in the world today. I'm going to go ahead and get started this morning. I don't really have a lot to say. My week has been okay. I can honestly say that. I've learned that I have graduated from Beulah Heights University. I got my bachelor's degree in business administrations. I got my business degree this week. And I'm gonna be pursuing my master's be pursuing my master's in theology and try to get me an MBA. MBA. That's what I'm gonna try to do. If the Most High is willing. That's what I'm going to try to do for the next 3 years. I was in school for about 7 years, but I got my bachelor's. I'm very proud of that. So, I didn't get a chance to walk because of some stuff, but I didn't get a chance to walk because the Most High didn't allow me to walk. But I got it. And I'm happy. So let us turn to the book of Exodus chapter 20 verses 1 through 17. And also my daughter graduated from the University of Georgia as well. She graduated last night with a bachelor's in psychology. So my daughter and I graduated in the same year. I graduated 1 week before she did. And it reads in Exodus chapter 20 verses 1 through 17, and it reads, and El spoke out these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, and thou shalt have no other Els before me, and thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Let me go back here for a second. And showing mercy to thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. See, the Most High don't want you to do His commandments out of force. He wants you to do His commandments out of love. That's why Paul talks about we're not up under the law no more, because the law is force. Love is given. Means that when you love somebody, you do it just because, not because they're making you do it. And when you do the laws, statutes, and commandments, and you do it out of the force, that means that you are up under the law. But when you just love somebody just to love them and you do what they ask you to do, that's free will love. That's free. That's free. You being free from something because it's in your heart to do it. It's not forced on you to do it. It's like, even though I understand that the speed limit say 65 miles an hour, I don't have to be forced to follow the speed limit. I just obey the speed limit because that's what the speed limit say do. And that's the difference. The Most High wants you to do it because who He is to you, and not because of actually what He said. I love my parents because they're my parents, and because I love my parents, I'm going to do what my parents say do. That's getting rid of the law in an aspect. Because, yes, we're still under the law, we're still under instructions, we're still up under the Torah, but how we function under the Torah is different. We should do the Torah because the love that we have for the Father, not because He's telling us to do it, or because He's going to whoop us if we don't do it. We should do it because it's beneficial, not because of any other thing. So if you're doing things because you're forced to do it, you're still under the law. But if you're doing it because the Father say don't do it, and you're doing it because you love the Father, that's a different way. And that's something we got to understand. Because I love the Father, I'm going to do what Abba say do. Abba ain't going to have to force me to do it. The only thing Abba got to do is just ask me to do it, and I'll do it. It's a difference. When you have love for someone, you just going to do it just because the love that you have for that person. You're not going to do it because they're forcing you to do it. And that's why He said don't give grudgingly. Don't do anything that you don't want to do. You do it because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. That's the difference. When it comes down to serving the Most High, we should do it because we love Him, not because of anything else. But when you're doing it grudgingly, or you're up under the law. You curse. You doing it because, man, I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. Man, I don't want to do it, I gotta do it. No, I'm resting because the Father, I love the Father, He had me not to rest. Okay, no problem. That's the way some of our answers should be when he asks us to do something. Okay, no problem. We shouldn't be fussing and fighting about what he say. Because if we're fussing and fighting about what we say, we're having issues with that. And we shouldn't have no issues with it. Just like if your parents tell you to do something and you love your parents, you're going to say, okay, no problem, mom and dad. I'm going to do it. Especially if you love them. Now, if you don't love them, you're going to have some problems. But if he tell you to do, your parents tell you to go do this, that, and that, okay, mom, give me the key. Let me go da-da-da-da. So it's a difference. Verse 7, Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy works, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger, that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested this seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Good morning, Facebook Live. Good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries. Good morning, YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope everything is going well with you this morning, because this is the day that the Most High have made. So let us be glad and rejoice in it. If you could turn the word of the Most High to Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6. I'm going to be reading from 1 through 10 today. And the key verse this morning is verse 8, 7 and 8. The key verses this morning is verse 7 and 8. It says, Be not deceived, El is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Let me read that over. Be not deceived, El is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. That shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And if I may give a title of the text this morning, is, What is your result of your sowing? What is your result of your sowing? What is your result of your sowing? If I may give some words today, the word suffer. The word suffer is a mid-13th century word, means to allow to occur or continue. It means to permit. It means tolerate. It means fails to prevent. It means suppress. Also, it means to be made to undergo, endure, to be subject to. Then that's what suffer means. It means to endure. It means to undergo. It means to be subject to something. It means allowed to occur. Okay, the word experience. The word experience is a trial, a proof, an experiment, knowledge gained by repeated trials. Observation as the source of knowledge. An experience is an observation as the result, as the source of knowledge. Experience also is actual observation, an event which has an effect on one. Okay? So, when we're looking at the book of Galatians, Paul is the author, and he's talking to the people, and he's talking to them, he's talking to the church, and he's talking to them about life. He's talking about the gospel. He's talking about who's teaching the gospel. He's talking to them about letting no other gospel come in that is the true gospel, other than the true gospel. Paul is talking to, quote-unquote, the Gentiles, which are considered to be the Hebrews because of their behaviors, practice. And he says in Galatians 1:4, he said, who gave himself for our sins that he might deliver us from this present evil world, according to the will of El and our Abba, to whom be glory forever and ever. He says, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Christ unto another gospel. Paul is trying to tell the people that don't let somebody deceive you by the gospel that is being preached out here. He's telling the people, don't be deceived by this preaching that you give, that is coming. Because that preaching can mislead you and guide you in other directions. It really can lead you and guide you into other directions. I want to say this to you. I'm going to go back. I done read this verse several times, but I'm going to read it again. See, this verse here is something I want you to put into your subconscious thinking. It's in Revelation chapter 20, verse 12. He said, I saw the dead, small and great, stand before El. The books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead was judged out of those books which was written in the books according to their works. Okay? We are going to be judged according to our works, not our belief system. Okay? So now when we go back to Galatians chapter 6, we have to understand that Paul is talking to the people saying, don't let no man come in and pervert the gospel of Christ, but though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than which we have preached unto you, let him be accused, accursed. As we said before, so say I now again. If any man preach another gospel unto you that ye have received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade men or err? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please man, I shall not be the servant of Christ or the Messiah. Paul is just trying to talk to the people and let them know, hey man, don't be following this other stuff that you don't heard before. Don't be listening to these fake preachers telling you that you don't have to follow no laws. You ain't none of no laws no more. And even when they tell you, no, you're not up under the law no more. You up under grace. You're not up under the law, quote unquote, even though you are under the law. You're not under the law or under force. You're under law because you love. It's a difference. When somebody force you to do something, you're up under the law because you're forced to do it. But when you love, you're not actually under the law. You're just doing it just because you love. That is the difference. Yes, you're under the law, but how you respond to the law makes you a free, a bond man. When you're a bond man, you're forced to do it because that's what you're under. But when you are free, you do it free will because that's just because of who you are as a child, as a son or a child of the Most High. So when we're in Galatians chapter 6, Paul is talking to the people, and he says Galatians chapter 6 and 1, he says, brethren, and now he's also telling us how we should treat, how we should act towards our brothers and sisters. And the hard part about life right now is that I'm going to use this word karma. Karma. Am I saying that right?
Karma.
It's coming around faster than we think. It's coming around much faster than we think, and it's hitting people. As soon as they do something, they're getting it right back in their face. And that's something we have to understand. We have to see that things are coming around. Judgment is coming around much faster than it used to. It used to be a delay, but it ain't no delay no more. It's coming around much faster. Some people gonna do something this week and they're getting sick next week. Some people can do something this time, something is coming right back on in the following day. So it's like, we have to be careful of how we function in this realm right now because karma is coming around faster than you think. Because when a person think they doing something to somebody, they actually doing it to themselves and not to somebody, to the person who they think they're doing it to. And I was talking to this guy at work, and see, his wife divorced him because she wanted the house that they was in, and she really didn't love the guy. So when the wife divorced the guy, wanted to leave the house, leave the guy alone, she told the guy, okay, let me have the house and some of the stuff in it, you move out. He said, okay, no problem. So he moved out and went and bought another house. Now the lady his wife or his ex-wife can't even afford the house that she's in because of the simple fact is of what comes along with that. Now she's suffering because of her actions. And see, what she thought she was doing is actually not what she was doing. She thought she was hurting him, but indirectly, she was hurting herself. You see, a lot of the times, when we think we're doing something to somebody else, we're actually doing it to us. And see, that's why Paul is considered to be such a great writer of the New Covenant, is because Paul understands everything that's going on, because what he did to somebody else, he see it firsthand now. That's why Paul is considered to be whoever he is, because he understood, because with everything that was happening, Paul was it. Paul persecuted the church. Paul afflicted people. Paul was a zealous. Paul was all the things that he trying to preach against now. That's why he had so much compassion and understanding to people, because he was once there in those shoes. He was the one that was persecuting the church. He was the one that was afflicting the people. So when he had that encounter on the road of Damascus, it made his life change. That's why he's able to function and live in the reality that he's able to live in now, because he see it from a different lens. He don't see it from the oppressive side point of view. He see it from the oppressed side of view. And see, this week I had asked the guy, I said, what is the side effects from a Caucasian or European's point of view? And because they never bring up how they was affected from slavery. They never was understand how they was affected. Everybody was affected. But they never talk about their side effects, because they do have some side effects from slavery. And he said it was domineering, it was this and it was that, and it was this and it was that. And I said, oh, okay. But I wondered, did it resonate with him mentally, the side effects that he had encountered, or that was passed down from him from slavery? See, we never look at them having side effects. We only looking at us having side effects. But what they was trying to do to us, it also went back on them. They got some repercussions behind it too. They gonna probably get more at the end than those who they did something to. So when we're starting to look at Galatians 1:6, Paul is greeting the people. He said, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such in one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Let's understand that from Paul's writings, because of what I just said, how Paul was from the very beginning. Paul was a zealous man who went around and persecuted people and looked at them as if they was wicked. And now when Paul had that road of Damascus encounter, it shifted Paul's mentality. And see, all of us have had that encounter on the road to Damascus, meaning on the road to destruction, on the road of doing something we should not do. We had that encounter with the Most High. And when we had that encounter with the Most High, it shifted our frame of thinking. It made us think totally differently. Like, what was I thinking? Because what made me stop cheating on my wives or the people that I was with is when I used to watch Cheaters. The TV episode Cheaters. And when I saw the TV episodes Cheaters all the time, I used to see the repercussions of my actions on someone else. Nobody sees the results of their actions, or nobody thinks about their results on their actions on that person that they're with. They only see what they're doing or see what that person ain't doing, but not them looking at saying, if I cheated on this person, how would it affect them? Nobody does that. Nobody says, if I go out here and commit this crime and do this or do that or do this or do that to someone, what is the results of that? Nobody, it's hardly ever somebody would sit down and say, well, let me find out my results of my actions when I do it. And see, yes, a lot of police officers are killing people, period. There's a lot of Europeans that are being killed by police officers. Also, there's a lot of us that's being killed by police officers. But nobody's looking at, there's a high suicide rate in the police department. It's a lot of police officers that are on drugs. It's a lot of police officers that are divorced. It's a lot of police officers that live a jacked up life. But nobody talks about that. We only talk about what they're doing, but they're sowing. Whatever they sow, they reap it as well. That's why they very seldom have a functional family, because of what they have done. So what Paul is saying is, man, I understand this. I'm writing this because this is my experience in life. He said, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault. Because why? In a fault? Because Paul went around the church persecuting the people. He was the one who was killing the people. He was the one who putting people in jail. He was the one that allowed Stevens to be laid at his foot. Paul is coming from a compassionate standpoint because Paul was that person. Now Paul is on the other side. He said, ye which are spiritual, restore such in one in the spirit of meekness. The word meekness means humble. Considering thyself. He said, considering yourself. Lest thou be tempted. He said, because man, I was in that boat. I did this. That's why I'm able to write this letter to you, because I was in that boat. I was in that situation of being a jacked up person. I used to do things that wasn't cool. I did things that wasn't right. But now because I became a spiritual man, I understand the things that I did wrong. And now because I understand that I did wrong, I have more humbleness about how I treat people, because I know it can turn right back around and come back on me again. And see, we always got to have the aspect of being humble. We also got to be always in the aspect of being understanding. Because Paul was misled. People have always been misled by somebody else's intentions on them. And that person didn't even understand it. That person was misleading them because of their intentions and not because of the benefit of the person. And that's something that we got to understand, is because the end results is the person who's being misled by the person who has bad intentions for that person is going to be the person that be damaged the most. And because we don't understand that, we do things out of order. We don't have no understanding at all about what's actually taking place in reality. See, do we really think that the pastor is really thinking about the results of his misleading the congregation of the people? No, he don't. Because what he's only thinking about is what his benefit is going to come from him misleading the people, and trying what he's going to get out of the outcome of him lying to the people. The pastor's not thinking about the results of the people, because if he did truly think about the results of the people, the pastor wouldn't have never misled the people. But then he complained because he's not getting the results that he's want to get. But I gotta understand his intentions has been bad from the very beginning. The word intentions in the etymology dictionary means the purpose, design, aim, or object, will or wish or desire, that which is intended. See, a lot of people intentions is for their will and their desires. It's not for the other people's wills and their desires. And see, that's what Paul is trying to say, is that, man, I know I made a lot of mistakes. I understand, so that's why I'm telling you what I'm telling you, because I did some jacked up stuff along the way. I did a lot of jacked up stuff through my experience in life, and I had to suffer that. I had to endure those things. See, let's go to Matthew chapter 25, verse 36. And see, now I understand this text better, is because when you if I can give a point too, my first point is understand. Understand means to comprehend, to look at it for what it is. Okay, I understand this verse. It says in Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 and 36, it says, "For I wasn't hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me." The only way that a person could be able to be compassionate, to be able to do the things that the Messiah is saying in this, is that they had to go through the same identical thing. If you haven't experienced nothing, you can't understand nothing. See, I was homeless at a point in time. I understand homeless people less fortunate. That's why I don't call them homeless. I call them less fortunate, because I understand that I was in that same boat. So when I see these people, I give compassion to these people, because I know how I feel to be in that situation. That's why Paul is talking, and that's why he's saying what he's saying, is because he understands how it was when he persecuted the church, when he misled the people. That's why Paul is so valuable, is because Paul was the same person that did everything that he preaching on. Paul was that person. I understand this verse because 35 and 36, he said, "For I am hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me." I understood that because I used to sleep in my friend's car sometimes, because I didn't have a place to stay. So when I see people, and I have compassion on them, because I've been there. And if you ain't never been there, you can't understand nothing. You can't understand how to treat people with humbleness or humility, because you haven't walked a mile in their shoes, as we say. But when you walk the mile in people's shoes and you don't been where they been, you can understand. And see, some people who know me or know of me, they think they understand me, but they don't. See, I have compassion on Esau. I have compassion means that I understand. I have compassion on him. Not because anything, but he don't know what he done did. He don't really understand the repercussions of his actions. He don't understand that, yes, you might have cut me on my arm, but you finna get your whole arm taken off. See, that's the thing about it. That's why I have compassion, not because of the simple fact is I'm gullible or stupid or ignorant.
That's right.
It's just that I understand the totality of the situation. And when you understand the totality of the situation or the results of the situation, you can be like, man, yeah, you did that to me, but you don't know what you did to yourself. And that's what Paul is trying to get us to understand is that, yes, I've been where you are. Be humble in taking care of people because you've been there too. That's what Paul is basically saying. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 34 and 35, it says, "For ye had compassion of me in my bonds," means in my troubles, "and took joyfully for the spoilings of your goods, knowing in yourself that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance." He says, "Cast not away therefore your confidence, which has greater recompense of reward." But let me go to verse 33 first. Let me read 33, 34. It said, "Partly while ye were made a glazing stock both by reproach and afflictions, and partly while ye became companions of them that were so used. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourself that ye have in heaven a better and enduring substance." See, Messiah had compassion on the people because he understood the situation. See, Esau really don't understand. They don't understand karma. They don't understand what goes around comes around. They don't understand functioning in the spiritual realm. They understand functioning in science, but they don't understand functioning in the spiritual realm because that's not of them. And when we understand that, we can treat things different. We can see things totally different. Let's go to Ephesians 4 and 32. And see, I remember when I was sitting up under this pastor for a whole year before he kicked me out of the church and said he wasn't going to ordain me as a minister, which I think was a good thing. I'm not mad at him. I have much love for him and respect for him. Because the Most High is not going to allow somebody to He's not going to allow somebody to say they helped me get where I needed to be. He's not going to allow that to happen. Because he's going to make sure that he put people in my life to help me get where I need to be and not the wrong person. And that is the Most High. So, that person did not understand why he was doing what he was doing, but I understand why he was doing what he was doing. And just leave that alone. Ephesians 4:31 and 32. It reads, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Why? Why we need to do that? Because we're not walking in a physical realm, we're walking in a spiritual realm. And we need to understand that everything down here is testing your character. Testing who you are, testing everything about you to make you be who you're supposed to be. Verse 32, it says, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as El, for Messiah's sake, has forgiven you. See how that works? Paul just put it in reverse. Even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you. So if he forgave us, what should we do? Forgive them other people. Why? Because we understand. We've been there. We were jacked up people. That's why Paul is so relatable. I'm not saying some things that it says vengeance is the Most High, and we got to allow him to take his vengeance. But we can't. I'm not saying be a fool to anybody. No. Because I don't see the Jewish people hanging out with the Germans. I'm not saying be a fool to anybody, but what I'm saying to you is you got to allow people to go through whatever they're going to go through, and you ain't got nothing to do with it. You got to move on with your life. You got to move on with your life, because if you don't move on with your life, you're going to be at a stop sign or a red light, and the light is green, but you got your foot on the brakes. Meaning that you can't go anywhere because you still stuck. Let's go back to Galatians chapter 6. Verse 2. But I'm going to read verse 1 again. It says, brother, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, because ye which are spiritual, restore such in one in the spirit of meekness, humble, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. It says, bear ye one another burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ, of the Messiah. It says, bear ye one burden, bear ye one another burdens. Meaning, put your burden on somebody else's shoulders. Put your burden. You take on somebody else's burden, somebody's gonna take on your burdens. Because that's what Christ did. That's what the Messiah did. He died for the Israelites. So if he died for the Israelites, that means that if we're going to be an example or a follower of him, that means that we're going to have to do some stuff for other people that we don't want to do. We got to give up ourselves. We got to be willing to put our life on the line for other people. Verse 3, it says, for if a man think of himself to be something, he is nothing. He deceive himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. Let's go to Proverbs 25 and 25 and 14. This is for verse 6. See, you should never think that you're more than what you are. Because in a sense, you ain't nothing but a vapor. Here today, gone tomorrow. You're really nothing. So when you think you're more than something, you treat people as if you're better than them, when in actuality, you're not better than them. You really ain't. You may have a different gift, or you may be doing something somebody else ain't doing, but doesn't mean that you don't have issues or problems or faults. It means that you're just doing something somebody else is not doing. Okay, it says in Proverbs, let me go to verse 13 and 14. It says, as the cold of snow in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to them that sent him. For he's refreshed the souls of his masters. Whosoever boasts himself of a false gift is like clouds and wind without rain. By long forbearing is a prince persuaded, and a soft tongue broken the bones. But I like this when it says, whosoever boasts himself of a false gift is like a cloud and winds without rain. You're no good. You're no good. And see, you're no good, basically. It's not good to put somebody else down so that you can look good. That's not a good thing to do. That's why he said we all have sinned. We all have come short of the glory of the Most High. And when we understand that, we can move in a different way. When you think you're better than somebody else, somebody can come right along to you and tell you you ain't no good. Because they can be better than you, because there's always somebody got more than somebody. And if you don't walk in a sense of compassion and humility, you can easily get taken out of here. You ain't got to be boasting and bragging about what you got and what you don't have. What you trying to do, make somebody else feel bad so you can feel good? Let's go to Proverbs 14 and 14. I'm going to go to 13 first. It says, even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful, and the end of the mirth is heaviness. The backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. The backslider in his heart shall be filled with his own ways. And see, I was talking about that with my daughter this morning. And I was telling my daughter, you don't never know what nobody's going through on the inside of them. That's why they don't want to teach critical race theory in the school system, is because it's too difficult for them to be able to face it. Even though they know they did some horrific things to people. And I was reading this book yesterday and it really disturbed me a lot. But they don't want to teach critical race theories because they don't want to face what they did to people. It says the backsliders in heart shall be filled with his own ways. The heart is the mind. The people in their mind shall be filled with his own behavior. Don't nobody want people may not tell you what they're thinking. Because if they actually told you what they was actually thinking, it will reveal a lot. But they don't want to tell you that because they understand that they did some stuff they should have never done. They done did some things that they should have never done. and they know what they have done. And they participated in some of the stuff that has been taking place. And when I say they participated. They continue to participate. But it says, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. Meaning that you'll be okay with your actions. It's a difference between a bad person's behavior and a good person's behavior. It says a good man shall be satisfied, but a backside in his heart shall be filled with his own ways. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5. See, this is something we always got to do. We got to examine our actions. Because this is what Paul is doing. This is like I'm looking back over my life now. I'm looking back over my life and I'm telling you the reason why you should do what you do. Because if now I had that road to that encounter on the road to Damascus, I know I made a lot of mistakes. So this is why I'm telling you this. Is because I know where you're headed. I know what you're doing. I know where you've been. This is just a wise letter to my brethren to say, hey man, look out for your brothers. Don't be so hard on them. Because I was there. In 2 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5 it says, for though he was crucified through weakness, yet he lived by the power of El. For we also are weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of El towards us. Listen to how they word this stuff, word this verse. Listen to how they say it. He said, for we also are weak in him. We are weak. We ain't where we want to be with him. We're weak. We don't have that much belief in him. And he says, but we shall live with him by the power of El towards us. It ain't got nothing to do with us. By the power of El towards us. Examine yourself whether ye be in the belief. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. He said, prove yourself. Show yourself who you are. He said, because know ye not your own self. He said, you don't know who you really are. That's why he's saying prove it. Prove to yourself who you are, because right now you really don't know who you are. How that Jesus Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobate. He's saying prove yourself that the Messiah lives in you. Because right now you really don't know who you really are. Prove is you got to do something to show people who you really are. Through your actions. Your actions tell people who you are. It's like my wife came to me this morning and said, baby, in my prayer this morning, the Most High told me just to ask. He said, you ask not because you have not. And the reason why you have not, because you ask not, because the reason why you ask not is because of the simple fact you're weak in him. You don't have the faith in him that he'll deliver to you. And sometimes that's a lot of us, including myself. But he's the one, the Messiah, the Most High is the one. The Ruach HaKodesh is the one that does all of it. Let's go back to Galatians 6. Verse 4, it says, but let every man prove his own work. Prove your own work through your faith or your belief. Prove your work through your belief. And then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another person or man. It says, every man shall bear his own burdens. Every man shall bear his own burdens. That's what I just said. You don't know what's going on in people's mind. You don't really want to know. You don't really know why they don't want to teach critical race theory. Because they don't want to carry that burden. The word burdens means an invoice as part of a freight, that is, a task or service. Every man shall carry his own task or his service or his issues or his problems. Let's see something. It says the word burden also can mean something carried. That is, the cargo of a ship. A burden is something that you're carrying along with you. Every man is gonna have to carry their own burdens. And see, people don't want to do that because some of it is more difficult than others. And see, the guys who I was talking about earlier about me, they're making judgment on me because of who I may be and how they perceive my faith or my belief system or how I live my life, is because they don't want to carry the burdens on how they did my people. Because of how I talk and what I say. See, the people who wear that American flag on that shirt, they don't want to carry the burden of what they did to other countries around the world. They try to justify, but ain't no justification in it. It says, thou shalt not kill. That means it's not limited to your neighbor. It's throughout the whole world. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Those things are very important. When you know you have still killed and robbed and raped and murdered somebody just for their physical possession, and you know this consciously and subconsciously, no, you don't want to carry that burden. So you use something other than to make yourself feel as if what you did was correct by saying that they had weapons of mass destruction. Or they were spraying biological chemicals on those people. Or they was committing genocide. But the ultimate truth is that you did it for physical gain. And see, people don't want to carry their own burdens, but you're going to have to. Even if it's going to eat you up inside. Verse 6, it says, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, hell is not mocked. For whosoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And see, Paul here in verse 8, he reaped physical corruption because of what he wanted to do. They said Paul was a zealous man. He was a Pharisee. And he was practicing the law. But he wasn't really practicing the law because it said thou shalt not kill. And Paul allowed them to kill Stephen. But he was doing things from the physical realm and not from the spiritual realm. The word soweth. The word soweth means to receive seed. It means to scatter. That is, sow literally and physically means whatever you do, whatever you perform, whatever act is, you're going to get it in return. You're going to get it in return. That's why the title of my text is, what is your result of your sowing? What is the results of your behavior? Are you living a good life? Are you living a bad life? Are you living a difficult life? Are you living a single life? What kind of life are you living? Because it tells you, whatever life you live, that's what you're producing. That's what you're putting out here in the atmosphere. If you're not putting out love, what are you putting out? If you're putting out hate, you're creating death. So when you see all these police officers killing all these folks, they putting out hate. So eventually they're going to reap what they sow. They're going to eventually die by the sword. Either by committing suicide or being on drugs, they're going to lose their family. Something tragic going to happen to them. Just like these politicians, just like these doctors, just like all these people. They don't think they're going to get away with something that they've been doing to other people. And that's what gets me the most, is people think that you can do something to somebody else and it's not going to come on your doorstep. You can't continue to think that you can sow something but don't receive what you sowed. Verse 8, it says, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. See, it's always a war between the flesh and the spirit. Let's go to Galatians 5 and 17 for a second. It says, in Galatians 5 and 17, it says, let me read verse 16. It says, this I say then, walk in the spirit of the Ruach, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. It says, for the flesh lust against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if you be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. So what it's saying is, you really got some internal issues going on. You got two wars coming out. You got Jacob and Esau inside of one body. One is conniving, one is scheming, one is trickery, but the other one is righteous, one is trying to do the will of the Most High. Which one you gonna let come out? Because you always got internal issues, internal battles on you. Like they always had the devil on the left side, and the spirit of the angel on the right. And the devil say, no, you can go eat that candy. And the other one on the right said, no, you can't eat that candy. It ain't good for you. That's the way it is. But it's more deeper than that. It's more cynical than that. That's why it's saying in verse 7, I'm about to finish in a few minutes. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. He that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Let's go to Job 4:8. 7 also. It says, remember, I pray thee, whosoever perish, being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off, even as I have seen, they that plant iniquities and sow wickedness reap the same. See, sometimes we think people getting away with something, but they ain't getting away with nothing. Nothing lasts forever. When they say the word suffering just means a conditions or a time period. That's all it means, a condition. It means to undergo. It means allowed to occur. It means something, a condition that is occurring. Whether it's good or bad, they just put suffering with the negative, but it just means allowed to occur. That's all it means, to undergo. Okay. It says, by the blast of air they perish. And listen, let me go down to verse 9. It says, let me read it over again. Even as have seen, they that plant iniquity and sow wickedness shall reap the same. By the blast of air they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils they are consumed. The roaring of the lion and the voice of the fierce lion and the teeth of the young lion are broken. Meaning that these people ain't going to last long. Let's go to Romans 8 and 13. That's why it does you no good to try to do wrong to people. Because you're going to get it in return. And it's coming around faster than you think. Verse 12 and then 13, it says, therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. See, the flesh make us do things that we shouldn't do. That's why young women today, a lot of young women are in the strip clubs today because they're doing things after the flesh, trying to get things after the flesh. That's why most people are in jail today, because some of them, not all of them, but some of them are in jail today because they're doing things, try to get the physical and the tangible physical thing. So when they're trying to get the physical and tangible thing, they're going to do whatever they got to do to get it. That's why young women are being sold into human trafficking, because these people want money. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It didn't say money was evil. It says, for the love, the lust of it is the root of all evil. So when we start doing things because we love it, that's why when people say, I love my car, I say, no, man, you enjoy your car. You don't love it. You enjoy it. You like it. It says, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die, because your actions are wicked. Not because they're righteous, because they're wicked. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. Let's see what the word mortify means. Mortify means to kill. Ye through the Spirit do kill the deeds of the body, ye shall live. It means to kill. It means literally or figuratively to become dead. Cause to be put to death, kills, mortify, means that if you kill the lust of your flesh, you shall live. Because that's what we do. We live after the flesh. Oh, I gotta have this big house. Oh, I gotta have this car. I gotta have this. I gotta have that. So that's after the flesh. That's not after the spirit. Because when you're spiritually in tune to the word, you're content with the physical possessions. Because those physical possessions don't make you who you are. Galatians, let's go back to Galatians 6. 9 and 10. And this is your salvation moment. Here it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. This is your salvation right here. And I want us to understand something. Sometimes we think doing good is a bad thing. Doing good is always a good thing. It's your salvation right here. Doing good. Always doing good. I always want to do what's right. But we never know what's doing right in that moment is. But as long as it don't cause hurt, harm, or danger to anybody that's doing right. It says, as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of belief. Our salvation is always doing right. Always to do right. But in order for us to do right, we got to understand where we were. We got to understand where people are. We got to understand the results of everything that's going on around us to be able to be a good person. Or to have salvation means to be complete, or to be whole, or to be one. See, this book, the Bible or the Holy Scriptures, is not about no religion. It's not about no Christianity. It's not about no Buddhism, or whatever religion. It's about how you live your life. When you say I'm a Hebrew Israelite, that's a nationality. That's all it is. No more, no less. So your salvation comes when you come complete, when you become whole, when you go to understanding people's actions and you understand the results of the action. And you choose not to function in what's negative with the flesh. Let me read you something on closing. It says in Nag Hammadi on page 515, it reads, do not stab yourself with the sword of sin. Do not burn yourself, O ratchet one, with the fire of pleasures. Do not surrender yourself to the barbarians like a prisoner, or to savage beasts that wants to trample you. For they are like a lion roaring very loudly. Don't be a corpse, or they will trample you. Since you are human, listen to this. Since you are human, it is possible for you through reasoning to conquer them. See, you have the abilities to conquer anything that you want to conquer. And see, what I learned is that fear keeps you in that box. And when you're not able to conquer the fear of whatever it is, it's going to devour you. It's going to make you not understand people's actions and the results. But when you have salvation and you become complete and you become whole, you're able to conquer fear. You're able to move in different ways. You're able to live in different realms. You're able to be different. Because what I put today on my paper says this right here. Let me see if I can still do it. It says, how you live your life does not have anything to do with anyone else, but sometimes we blame other people. I said, but we must look at ourselves before we can say anything to anyone about their life. I said, we get mad at people who point out our mess. I said, we get mad at people who point out our mess thinking that they did something wrong, but it was us who did the wrongdoing. But if we did not expect people to say anything about our mess, and as it says, but we do not expect people to say anything about our mess, and that is the harder part about life, accepting responsibilities for our mess. You got to move on with what you believe. See, Paul was pointing out his mess, and he was living because of his mess. And if don't nobody else point out your mess, you can't live by your mess or through your mess. And see, the road to Damascus was about the Messiah pointing out Paul's mess. That's why the Messiah said, Paul, why you persecuting me? It was pointing out Paul's mess. So when Paul's mess was pointed out, he was able to adjust himself to be understanding of people's actions and understand the results of it. So that's why Paul had salvation, because he had became complete and whole. So my question is again, what is the results of your sowing? What is the results of your behavior? Is it positive or is it negative? So that concludes the teaching for the day. Let me pray so we can go. And I hope you all have a blessed one. I hope that the Most High continue to bless you and cover you and give you all the things that your heart desire. I pray that. Let me pray. As we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you, we give you all the honor and the glory. Father, we just ask that you continue to do your will. We ask that you continue to let us see your judgment. Because we know that here in the U.S., this country has done a lot of wicked things. But let us accept the mess that this country have done so that we can be able to receive the punishment that is bestowed upon it. But also let us be able to love you because you gave us sight to see, ears to hear, and a mouth to speak. Let us be thankful that you gave us legs to walk, eyes, arms to move, fingers. Let us be able to be glad that you gave us a sound mind and a healthy body. But let us just be thankful for everything that you have done and what you continue to do. You continue to provide a way for us to make money to provide for our families. You continue to give us food and shelter and clothing. You continue to give us a car to drive in or transportation like MARTA or Uber or Lyft to get around in. So let us be thankful for the simple things that you have given us. Even when you've given us thrift stores and goodwill stores, you're still providing for us a means and ways to be able to close this ratchet old body of ours. You have given us simple stores like the Dollar Tree to be able to go buy something to be able to provide for our families. So sometimes we forget the small things that you do for us because the simple fact that we're lusting after the flesh and not just appreciating the small things in life. Understanding that you provide the lilies in the valleys, or you provide birds, the worms for the birds. And if you provide worms for the birds, you definitely provide for us. So I will just continue to help us and guide us and lead us and protect us. Let us be able to see life in a different view. Let us be able to understand that suffering means to undergo.
good or bad, endure, good or bad, the experiences that we have on this earth. Let us be able to learn from them, be guided from them. Let us not miss the learning point of what they call in the business world an area of opportunity. Let us take advantage of that area of opportunity in our life where we can learn something from it. We thank you, we praise you, we give you all the honor and the glory. And all these things we pray. So let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your time. You all have a blessed Sabbath. Have a good one.
Taking the things of the world off of my shoulders. Yeah. Thank you, Father. Lord, you made my desires pure. You made my desires pure. Yeah. You made my desires pure. Yeah. You made my desires pure. I want wisdom, understanding. I don't want no Grammy. I wanna live a righteous life with a righteous family. I want a wife that love you more than she love me. Wanna show my people that they royalty. Wanna live by your commands, on your word we stand. I'd rather be touching scriptures than touching these banks. No riches gon' profit nothing in a day of wrath. I was living in my mess, I had to take a bath. Created me a clean heart, but made me pure. The things of the world, y'all, it's time to ignore. I want love, I want peace, I want everlasting life. Well done, my good and faithful servant, walking in that light. I'm on this narrow path, trying to save a soul. I want my people in Jerusalem, the days of hope. I wanna get to the homeless, show him that he cares. I wanna get a homeless, hope we almost out of here. Get your example through your son, and it's the only way. Ain't no pagans over here, we keepin' holy days. I want my people stop the killing, we dropping the prophets. I want us come back to the laws, it ain't no other option. Don't want no hate up in my heart, not over no doctrine. I want the fruits of the spirit, y'all could keep the nonsense. I had to renew my mind, I had to free my conscience. I had to confess my sins, I had to be honest. I want the Ruach HaKodesh to come into me. I only trust the Father, not the enemy. The Father word, he came and cleansed the enemy. I only want the Spirit, so I'm killing me. The Father gave me righteous things that I desire. I want to see the kingdom, not the lake of fire. I don't want no drugs, scriptures got me higher. If we come in up here, how we gon' make the desires pure? You made my desires pure. 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 Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires pure. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires pure. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all that you had for me. You made my desires pure.